Let's stop pretending. The studio fell silent. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett leaned forward, her eyes locked onto the camera. Her voice, though calm, cut like a blade. The Trump marriage is a political contract, not a love story. And frankly, America deserves to know the truth. Gasps. One panelist's jaw dropped. Another fumbled for words as producers scrambled behind the scenes. They were live, on national television. Jasmine continued, unfazed. There are people, staffers, aides, who've seen the papers, seen the terms. There's no ring without the ratings, no vow without votes. That's not marriage. That's a show. The moderator stammered, trying to pivot, but it was too late. The internet exploded within seconds. Contractual love trended in under 5 minutes, and deep inside Mar-a-Lago, sources say Donald Trump hurled his phone across the room. But what no one knew yet, not the anchors, not the viewers, not even Jasmine herself, was that this truth had just cracked open a vault of secrets no one was prepared to face. And something, or someone, was about to break. Cliffhanger. As the studio cuts to commercial, a White House aide dials an encrypted number, trembling. "Get Crockett off the air," Trump reportedly barked. He was pacing in silk pajamas, barefoot on marble tile, as aides tried to calm him. "Get her banned, blacklisted, sued, now." One aide, younger than the rest, whispered, "Sir, what if the documents she mentioned actually exist?" Trump froze, then turned slowly, his eyes narrowed, his voice low and venomous. "Don't say her name again, not in this house." Meanwhile, back in D.C., Jasmine sat alone in her dressing room. No one came in, no one knocked. She just stared into the mirror, tears threatening but never falling. Her phone buzzed. Blocked number. She picked up. Silence. Then a deep voice. "You've started something you can't stop, Congresswoman. For your sake. Walk away." The call ended. And still Jasmine didn't flinch. She opened Instagram, hit record, and with eyes burning, she spoke. "If telling the truth about power makes you explode, maybe you weren't that powerful to begin with." Cliffhanger. At that exact moment, a former Melania staffer slid an unmarked envelope into a mailbox in Palm Beach. Inside, a photocopy of a prenup clause America was never supposed to see. The First Lady's silence wasn't strange. It was strategic. While Trump fumed and networks debated bans, Melania vanished. No tweets, no statements, not even a no comment. Her team refused interviews. The East Wing's press office shut its doors. But insiders whispered something far more chilling. "She's not silent because she's scared," one former aide confided. "She's silent because she's finished." For years, Melania had played the part, the perfect wife, the silent shadow, the icy smile, but Crockett's words had punctured a mask she no longer wanted to wear. Behind the gates of Mar-a-Lago, she was reportedly packing, quietly, methodically, one bag at a time, no drama, no threats, just finality, and then 2 days later, a leak. A scanned legal document hit the inbox of a New York Times journalist. Clause 9b, termination of marital agreement in case of political harm. Melania had options. Options that could free her, not just legally, but emotionally. Cliffhanger. As Jasmine receives an anonymous folder on her Capitol Hill desk, she opens it to find a photo. It's of Trump, with someone who is not Melania, dated just weeks before the 2016 election. Jasmine stared at the photo. It was printed on thick matte paper. No watermark, no caption, no sender. But the image said everything. Donald Trump, a woman in red, a hotel balcony, his hand where it shouldn't be. The date? October 2016, 2 weeks before the election. She flipped it over, in black ink. If marriage was love, why did he need this? Her hands shook. Not from fear, from fury. Jasmine had faced down powerful men before, But this was war, and whoever sent it clearly believed she could handle the fire. Still, she knew what this meant. If she made this photo public, it wouldn't just end the illusion. It would spark hell. And yet, a deeper ache tugged at her. It wasn't just about Trump anymore. It was about every woman trapped in a lie, every girl told to stay quiet, every voter deceived by a perfect picture painted in gold. She wasn't going to run. Not this time. Cliffhanger. As Jasmine places the photo in her briefcase, a security guard outside her office gets a strange radio alert. Code red, perimeter breach, North Hall. 2 Capitol police officers escorted Jasmine to her car. No lights, no sirens, just shadows. One leaned in and whispered, "Someone was in your office. We're checking the cameras." Jasmine's heart thudded. She'd known backlash would come, but not this soon, not this close. By the time she got home, a black envelope was waiting at her doorstep. No return address. Inside, a simple note. "You're playing with fire, Congresswoman, and fire burns alone." She looked out into the street. No cars, no footsteps, just the distant echo of city life. But in that moment, she realized something chilling. This wasn't just about politics anymore. This was about survival. Still, she pressed on. That night, she called a contact, a woman who once worked inside the Trump family's legal circle. "Do you still have the files?" Jasmine asked, her voice barely a whisper. Silence. Then the woman sighed. "I have one file left, but if I give it to you, I leave the country the next morning." Cliffhanger. Across town, in a hotel suite, a familiar face watches Jasmine's live Instagram video and quietly whispers, "She's going to get herself killed." Her name was Ariel Novak, and she once drafted paperwork for Trump's inner circle, a Harvard-educated attorney with sharp heels and sharper instincts. She'd vanished from the public eye after resigning in 2019. No interviews, no leaks, nothing. But she hadn't forgotten, and she hadn't forgiven. In a dimly lit cafe outside Baltimore, Ariel slid a USB across the table. Jasmine picked it up. No label, no clue what was inside. "It's not just a prenup," Ariel said quietly. "It's a playbook, a script, a timeline of appearances, interviews, surprise anniversaries. Every smile, manufactured." Jasmine's throat tightened. "So their marriage was built in a boardroom," Ariel replied, "and buried in a vault." They sat in silence, 2 women bound by truth, risk, and rage. Then Ariel leaned in. "You have a voice, I have a story. But once you open that drive, you can't close this door again." Jasmine nodded. She was ready. Cliffhanger. Back in Florida, a housekeeper quietly enters Melania's room and finds the closet empty, the diamond ring left on the nightstand, and a handwritten letter addressed simply, "To the American people." The envelope was creamy white. The handwriting delicate, not rushed, not panicked, just final. A Mar-a-Lago housekeeper, trembling, turned it over twice before daring to open it. Inside was a single sheet of linen paper. Melania had written it herself. "To the American people, I have been many things. A model, a mother, a first lady, but never truly a wife. You saw glamour. I lived silence. You saw loyalty. I endured strategy. I do not write to destroy, only to free. I leave not with vengeance, but with truth. There was a contract. There were conditions. And above all, there was pain. You deserve to know. The story you loved was never ours. Melania Trump." The note was quietly passed from staff to legal teams to journalists, all stunned. And when Jasmine received a scanned copy that evening, she broke down for the first time since this all began. Not for Melania, not even for herself, but for every woman taught that survival means silence. Cliffhanger. Meanwhile, a network producer holds up the USB from Ariel, trembling, as Jasmine prepares to go live for the biggest reveal of her career. It wasn't on CNN, not MSNBC, not even C-SPAN. Jasmine Crockett went live on her own channel. No edits, no handlers, no filter. Just truth. Over 8.3 million people tuned in within the first hour. She didn't yell. She didn't accuse. She simply opened the laptop, plugged in the USB, and read. April 12, 2015, handshake before camera. Smile count, Dogger 3, no press questions. July 4, 2016, kiss on stage. Duration, 2.7 seconds. Post-interview quote, pre-approved. October 2, 2020, public surprise hospital visit. Staff cleared 2 weeks prior. Slide after slide. Entry after entry. A marriage reduced to a calendar of performances. By the time she finished, It Was Scripted was trending in 19 countries. And somewhere in New York, a PR executive for the Trump Organization resigned on the spot. But the most powerful moment came at the end. Jasmine looked into the camera, her voice breaking slightly. To every woman who smiled through pain, this isn't just about them. It's about us. And we won't be props anymore. Cliffhanger. That night, Donald Trump releases a cryptic statement that ends with one line. They wanted war. Now they'll get it. Inside Mar-a-Lago, the mood was chaos. Trump's inner circle was split, half demanding legal retaliation, half begging him to stay quiet. But the damage was done. Conservative donors were pulling calls. Megachurch leaders were deleting tweets. His own 2024 campaign manager issued a 3-word statement. No further comment. In private, Donald was raging. She thinks she's a hero, he barked. I made her famous. I gave her a platform. She'll regret this. He pounded the table, but beneath the fury was fear, because Melania's letter had sparked something he couldn't control. Other women, former insiders, campaign aides, stylists, even hotel staff, began emailing journalists anonymously. It was all an act. They rehearsed every scene. Melania cried after events, but never in public. The walls weren't just cracking, they were crumbling. And Jasmine? She wasn't backing down. Truth isn't treason, she tweeted the next morning. And silence is no longer survival. Cliffhanger. As the House Ethics Committee quietly launches a review of Jasmine's conduct, an anonymous message hits her encrypted inbox. They're not just coming for your seat, they're coming for your life. The message was short. They're not just coming for your seat, they're coming for your life. Jasmine stared at the screen in silence. She didn't blink, didn't speak. She just sat until her chief of staff burst in. Jas, there's movement on the vote. The House Ethics Committee just escalated it to full review. They're trying to paint you as unstable, divisive, and defamatory. She nodded quietly. I know. But that wasn't the part that scared her. The threat felt personal. For the first time, she had security detail assigned to her 24/7. But no number of guards could stop the whispers, the stares, the sideways comments from colleagues who once hugged her and now wouldn't even meet her eyes. A colleague from across the aisle slipped her a note. They're afraid of you because you told the truth. Keep going. It gave her strength, for a moment. But that night, as she drove home, she noticed the same black SUV in her rearview mirror for 7 straight turns, and her hands started to tremble. Cliffhanger. Jasmine arrives home to find her front door slightly ajar and her living room light flickering. Someone had been inside. Chapter 11. Melania's last message. The FBI was called, her house swept, no signs of forced entry. But one thing had changed. An envelope was left on her dining table. Plain. Inside, a flash drive, no fingerprints, no note. Jasmine hesitated before plugging it in. The folder opened to just one video. It was Melania, disheveled, no makeup, shot on a phone. She looked straight into the camera, raw, human, broken. They said I'd be ruined. They said I'd lose everything. But I already had. If you're seeing this, it means I've left, or tried to. If they find me, they'll say I lied. But I didn't. The contract was real. The pain was worse. And Jasmine, don't stop. You're speaking for more than you know. Jasmine couldn't hold back the tears. Melania wasn't just escaping. She was risking everything to protect Jasmine's truth. And suddenly, the mission changed. This wasn't just about a fake marriage. It was about every woman in the shadows. Cliffhanger. Moments later, Jasmine's team receives an encrypted tip from a whistleblower. There's a second contract, hidden, signed by both parties. It's not just about marriage, it's about blackmail. The whistleblower's voice was masked, their location, unknown, their fear, palpable. They didn't just sign a marriage contract. There was another one, signed during the 2016 campaign. If it gets out, it's over. Jasmine leaned forward. Over for who? Trump, the donors, the facade. It spells out the terms of silence, the promises of power, the women he paid, the threats he made. It's all there. Her chest tightened. Where is it? The answer was chilling. Buried in a trust, offshore, under Melania's name. That night, Jasmine didn't sleep. She stared out her window, replaying Melania's message. The flicker in her eyes, the way her voice cracked when she whispered, "You're speaking for more than you know." And she realized Melania had hidden the document not just to protect herself. She had hidden it to protect every woman still trapped. The key was Melania, and Jasmine had to find her. Cliffhanger. At sunrise, Jasmine receives one final tip, a blurry photo of a woman in a headscarf boarding a boat in Croatia. The caption reads, "She's still alive, but not for long." The photo was grainy, but Jasmine knew. The tilt of her shoulders, the way she cradled her purse. It was Melania. She had escaped the States. The image, captured by a dock worker in Croatia, showed her boarding a small boat. No entourage, no bodyguards, no designer luggage, just a black headscarf, oversized sunglasses, and fear. Jasmine's team moved fast. They contacted human rights lawyers, press freedom networks, and international security agents. Find her, before they do. But hours later, a disturbing update came in. The boat never docked at its intended port. The vessel's GPS went dark in the Adriatic Sea. And the man who took the photo? Missing. Jasmine gripped her desk so hard her knuckles turned white. The silence was deafening. Her Instagram flooded with trolls and threats. Liar. Traitor. Fake feminist. Even a few congressional colleagues started floating the idea that she'd doctored everything. But one message broke through the noise. It was from a retired Secret Service agent. "You're closer than you think, but trust no one, not even your side." Cliffhanger. Later that night, Jasmine's car is sideswiped by an unmarked black vehicle. And when she regains consciousness, a folded napkin is on her lap, scribbled on it, "Stop chasing ghosts, or you'll become one." The hospital room was cold. Jasmine blinked slowly, disoriented. Her head throbbed. Her shoulder was bruised. She remembered the impact, the flash of headlights, the screech. Then, nothing. Capitol Police called it a traffic incident, but she knew better. She clutched the napkin they left. The message still burned in her memory. "Stop chasing ghosts, or you'll become one." But Jasmine refused to stop. Lying in that hospital bed, she pulled her phone from the drawer and uploaded a short, shaky video. "They tried to scare me into silence. They almost succeeded. But let me be clear. If I'm gone tomorrow, Everything still comes out. The files, the truth, the contracts, the lie we called a love story. That clip hit 12 million views in under 3 hours. The world was listening, and someone else was too. Because just before midnight, Jasmine received a voice message from an unknown European number. It was only 4 words. She's not dead yet. Cliffhanger. The message was followed by coordinates, a remote island off the Croatian coast, accessible only by boat. Jasmine books the next flight. Waves slammed against the boat's hull as Jasmine gripped the side tightly, eyes fixed on the silhouette in the distance. A crooked dock, a stone house buried in ivy, and silence all around. They arrived just after sunset. The fisherman who ferried her there muttered in broken English, "Many people come here, but not many leave." Jasmine didn't flinch. She climbed the path, heart pounding. Each step felt like a lifetime. She reached the door, raised her hand to knock, but it creaked open before she touched it. Inside, lit by candlelight, Melania, eyes sunken, paler, slower, but alive. They stared at each other. No words, just years of pain sitting in the silence between them. Finally, Melania spoke, her voice almost a whisper. "I knew you'd come, and I kept it safe, for this moment." She reached under a floorboard and pulled out a small metal case. Inside, the second contract, signed, sealed, complete. "They'll kill you for this," Melania said. "Then I'll die fighting for the truth," Jasmine replied. Cliffhanger. As Jasmine boards the boat back to the mainland, a drone camera whirs above the trees, silently tracking her every move. And someone is watching. Back in D.C., Jasmine wasted no time. She flew straight from Europe to a secure government server facility. Not even her staff knew the full plan. Inside her bag was everything: the second contract, Melania's final video, and a handwritten timeline of hush money payments connected to 3 foreign banks. The contract detailed a chilling arrangement. Melania would play the role of First Lady in exchange for full immunity from past NDAs, offshore protections, and guaranteed silence in the event of political fallout. It was signed in 2016, 2 weeks after Access Hollywood. Jasmine logged into a secure press platform and began uploading the files one by one to a globally syndicated vault accessible by human rights watchdogs, major news outlets, and 4 university archives. It was no longer just a political scandal. It was history. But just as the final file began to upload, the facility went dark. Power failure. Backup servers flickering. And then, remote breach detected. Location compromised. She whispered to herself, "Not now. Please." Cliffhanger. As guards rush her toward the exit, Jasmine clutches the encrypted hard drive. Suddenly her phone buzzes, a video notification from a private network account labeled only DT. The video opens with darkness, then Donald Trump's voice. Not shouting, not defiant, just cold. "So, she found the contract. Let me ask you something, Congresswoman. Do you think America wants the truth?" Static. "They worship the lie. I gave them a fantasy they could vote for. You're giving them pain, regret, shame." His tone sharpened. "Delete the file. Walk away. I'll even let you keep your seat." Jasmine stood frozen in the hallway, heart hammering. The phone nearly slipped from her fingers. Then a second voice, distorted, female, whispered something behind Trump's shoulder in the video. She already uploaded it. Jasmine smiled through tears. It worked. Even if she disappeared today, the truth would live on. Cliffhanger. As Jasmine steps outside into the sunrise, a black van screeches toward her from across the street. She doesn't run. She raises the phone to record and whispers, "Let the world see everything." The footage went global. Melania's videos, the second contract, the silent payoffs, the behind-the-scenes clips of rehearsed kisses, political stagecraft, and manipulated media appearances. It was no longer a debate. It was a reckoning. Protests erupted, not in hate, but in mourning. Women carried signs that read, "We're done pretending. Truth is power. Marriage shouldn't hurt." And Jasmine, she survived the van. The brakes squealed inches before hitting her. But by then, 4 cameras had caught everything. The van was traced back to a PAC donor. An FBI investigation began the next day. Melania, now safe in an undisclosed location in Eastern Europe, released a final message. "I don't want sympathy. I want women to be free. Even me." Jasmine stood on the Capitol steps weeks later, holding the hard drive that changed everything. We can't undo the past, but we can expose it, and maybe, just maybe, heal. If this story moved you, if you felt the weight of silence, the sting of secrets, or the fire of truth rising in your chest, don't let it stop here. Like this video if you believe in courage over comfort. Subscribe if you know the truth must be louder than lies. Comment below with one word: free. Because no woman should be trapped by power, image, or fear. You're not just watching history unfold. You're part of it now. Let's make sure the world never forgets this moment. Not for Jasmine, not for Melania, not for the politics, but for every person who chose truth, no matter the cost.